A lot of elements to the shooting sports, and we're going to take them one at a time, Ed. On Michigan Outdoors, we'll be working some things in our outdoor calendar.
Yeah.
There is one place where a shooting sport merges into fishing. You know where it is?
Bow and arrow.
Bow and arrow for carp. I got some footage. Let's roll this footage right now. It's footage that I took when I worked for Mort Neff. It was back in about 1969. A fellow named Bob Paulson and Mark Retzloff. This was done right around Lansing. Now, aside from maybe the styles, I don't know if you can tell, a lot of us hunters and fishermen aren't too stylish anyway. We tend to get out our old clothes, you know, when we go hunting and fishing.
Hey, it's work.
That's right. We're going to have to tell you a little bit about this traditional activity that occurs in the spring in Michigan outdoors, shooting carp with a bow. It's a way of securing carp, of securing them, you know, harvesting them, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, carp aren't used too much. They're regarded as a nuisance, a pest. The shooters go out in canoes most generally, although you can do it wading, and shoot the carp that are spawning and they're in the shallows. Now, carp have a bad reputation. They were brought here, Ed, back in the 1800s. They were thought to be something that was going to develop in one of the most valued, most prized fish in the country. But I guess it's just the taste of a society. We don't eat carp in this country the way they do in Europe. These fish are a delicacy in Europe.
I know West Germany, they're on the front pages of all of the outdoor magazines.
I know. They're a big sport in Europe, and they're a big, in fact, the only real market for carp in the United States, and it's a big one, is the Jewish market in New York, the kosher market. Gefilte fish and these different things are carp. Nothing wrong with eating a carp at all, but it has sort of a stigma. One problem with the carp is that it can tolerate a lot more turbid water. Now, that doesn't mean polluted water. I mean, it means turbid water, and it creates turbidity. When they spawn in the shallows, they tear up the weeds, and they cause a lot of disturbance of other fish spawning. I think that's why in this country, they weren't welcomed with open arms the way the people who introduced them thought they'd be. They were actually, well, they were resented. You know, they're in here messing up our other fish.
Well, they're not the most beautiful fish.
Well, it's all in how you look at it,
That's
Ed.
true.
Like you said, we've seen the magazines from Europe, the fishing magazines. They're holding them up as master
Very
anglers,
proudly.
very proudly of trophy fish. So it's just something in this country that they aren't regarded as a real desirable species, although they do offer this activity in the spring for bow hunters and archers. Most of them, unfortunately, take these fish back and bury them, which does remove the pest, and they are a pest because of their numbers in some of the shallower areas. But it's just something that we have in Michigan Outdoors now, an introduced fish. You know, we've introduced other fish, coho and Chinook salmon.
They did pretty well.
Yeah, they did real well. But we are more, the more desirable fish among groups in this country have been the trouts. So they weren't welcomed as much as the carp. But carp shooting, you know, we're going to get some letters. People are going to say, those guys were standing up in the boats while they're shooting the carp. I know we're going to get letters. Frankly, there's nothing I can say about that except that's the way you do when you go carp shooting. I stand up when I fish. It does have some elements of risk, but I know how to swim.
Right.
And these people who are doing that know how to swim.
And you're still careful about it.
You're careful, and it's in shallow water. Sure, you fall out of a boat now and then, but for crying out loud, all that is falling out of a boat.
Right.
There are some dangers.